Hey everybody, it's me, Comic Crack, and I'm back with another gaming video for you. This one, I'm not sure how often I'm going to check in during gameplay to give you updates. We'll see how it goes, but I wanted to highlight this game on the channel. This is Rocky Mountain Man, an adventure crayon game. That's right, crayon game. From Nate Hayden and crew, who have given us Mushroom Eaters, Cave Evil, San Quentin Kings, etc., etc., Sea Evil, everything under the sun. You know them, you love them, I've talked about them a whole bunch here on the channel. So right off the top, I want to throw out a huge thanks to Nate Hayden himself. He was kind enough to send me a free copy of this game, and I'm extremely grateful, Nate. I really appreciate it. Incredibly nice guy, just a nice group of guys and girls creating these games. And I mean, the thing that's drawn me to them, which I'm sure I've talked about in the past, is the kind of hand-done feel to everything, from the art to just the game itself, the games themselves rather. And it's one of those things that it's clearly done by people who just love doing this kind of thing. I'm glad that Joan and Jello turned me on to this crew. It's been exceptional playing these games over the years. Anyway, enough schmoozing. So this is Rocky Mountain Man, and one of the things that drew me to it, beyond it just being a game of theirs that I wanted to try, was it's a solitaire game as well. You can play it two players, but even when you're playing two players, you're basically each using the same map, starting at different points. You're starting at different points here on the map, and you're each playing a solitaire game simultaneously. So the discoveries that you're making on the map are your own, for your own records, and you're basically just trying to outplay the other opponent. There's a number of ways. Maybe we'll start with that. So the basic premise is that you're in the 1800s. Sorry, let me just get a year. So the Mountain Men of Old American West began with two seminal events: the expedition of Lewis and Clark and the trend of the beaver skin top hat. So Lewis and Clark, 1803 to 1806. So Rocky Mountain Man, as I said, is an adventure crayon game, solitaire to two players, 2 hours to many hours, and 12 plus years old. Before the American West, there was a mysterious, largely unknown mountainous region west of the Mississippi known as the Rocky Mountains. And the focus is on the mountain men, who were the first people of the young United States to venture into the unknown Rockies and begin to live among it. So it really is an exploration game. Your purpose is to explore this map, uncovering different terrain, getting in contact with some of the indigenous tribes that are living there, either trading with them. There's the potential to go to war with them. And then eventually, when you make it to the Rocky Mountain rendezvous point, you can partake in some trading. You can maybe pick up some tourists to take them around to some of the sites that you've discovered and gain some money that way. So that's the basic overall premise. So maybe let's start with this Rocky Mountain rendezvous. So one of the components of this game that's going to throw maybe a wrench into things, or at least give you some guidelines. The game is broken up into the 4 seasons, so spring, summer, fall, winter. Each of the seasons is a time, so you're not necessarily in a situation like in some games where you're uncovering a certain event that's going to lead you to change the season. You're choosing a time limit for each of the seasons. Nate, I believe, recommended 30 minutes or 60 minutes per season, and you can play as many seasons as you want. We'll have a look at the style of games that you can play in a second. So that's what's going to trigger each season changing, the time that you've allotted to playing it. we'll jump into a couple of the ways of playing. The other thing I want to say about all of the components, especially the instruction book itself, it's all beautifully done here. Let me adjust this focus again. It's beautifully done and laid out. I love the layout that they're trying for this book with some sidebars, with kind of examples, gameplay examples. There's historical figures, and then we'll look in a second. There's even if you want to just start playing, he gives you some basic ways to start. So playing modes, there's a short time game, longer time game, solitaire game with specific goals, and then there's the campaign game, and the campaign game is the one that I'm going to be playing. And again, you can play as many or as few seasons as you want. I have a feeling I'm going to want to keep this set up for a couple of days here on the table, so I'm going to go for the campaign style and just probably set myself an hour for each season to kind of give it a chance to fully explore. We'll see how it plays. I mean, the first playthrough I'm sure is going to be slower, period, as I have to kind of refer back to rules and get used to tables and that sort of thing. So we'll see how that goes. So there's your options. Your next step is then creating your outfitting your mountain man and crew. And on the same page here for setup, in the sidebar, he gives you a bunch of things that you can try. You can spend the time yourself and set up your sheet, but he gives you some things that you can just plug into the slots. You get $1,100 towards building your kind of crew that's going to go out to explore. There's things like you can outfit yourself with rifles, canoes, there's rations that you'll need, there's horses. So it really, this part of it really feels like a kind of choose your own adventure, a D&D rather, or even those fighting fantasy games where you're just creating your characters and you're setting parameters. I'm also playing with the advanced rules that gives like a weight restriction to what you can carry, depending on your crew size. You can play without it. I don't know. I think it's not necessarily a cop-out. I like the idea of an advanced rule where you're going to have these limitations instead of just being able to carry as much of whatever as you possibly can and never have to worry about that. I can see the appeal in that for sure, but I'd like to play with the restrictions. I usually end up going to the more advanced rules in general. But what I have done is I've followed exactly what he's laid out in the sidebar. In his video, which he has on the Chthonic Crystal channel, I'll try to remember to put a link. He does an hour and a half where he looks at the game itself and he really takes you through step by step. This one is going to be more of an overview of what to expect with this game. So I've just followed exactly what he laid out, which for my first playthrough, at least that's one part I won't have to think about. So as I was saying, you start at either one of 2 points. The Missouri sections here outlined in yellow down there, and same thing up there. So when you're starting this exploration, when you're starting into the map, those are your only 2 points at first where you're going to be able to come back and trade if you need to re-up supplies, that sort of thing, until the Rocky Mountain Rendezvous. So the Rocky Mountain Rendezvous is decided by a die roll, and you can see there's some spaces here outlined in red. Those are the various points that it is going to be at. So you roll a dice at the beginning, which I haven't done yet. Roll a die at the beginning and determine where the rendezvous point is. But again, you won't be able to visit that until the following spring or summer. So you have to play a full year, basically a full set of seasons, before you get an opportunity to get to the rendezvous point. I think I mentioned tables. There's tables galore. Since we're talking Rocky Mountain Rendezvous, here's the rendezvous table for when you go to do things like trading. You're also going to see what other chicanery you get up to while you're there. Some beautiful, this has got to be Commode Minstrels and Bullface art here. Victoria Shen does the cover as well here, who performs as Eviction and has a fantastic album out as well. But gorgeous art. She's done some art in House on the Borderlands, She did the art in there as well too. So when you come across a tribe in your explorations, here's all the different tribe policy tables: hide, trade, strategies, ignore, friendship tables, and then combat, of course, and then chief tables. So we'll find out exactly what all those are as we go. There's also the opening of the cover, basically, of the folio. And I don't know if I said it actually. Here, let's look on this side. More gorgeous, gorgeous art. I absolutely love this. So this is the American West, and there is a little folio 1 beside it, so that I'm hoping that there's more coming. So on the folio cover, the flip side is where you're finding the rest of your tables. River danger, hunting, lost mountain pass, checking traps, combat, etc. Danger events, trapper encounter, Spanish dragoons, animal trails, mountain climb, etc. So that one is there for me. We also get a map terrain key. We got some new lighting in here, and I'm still trying to figure out the best way for this. We have a map key here with all of the terrains. It's broken down into Rockies, Mesa, and Desert, and then there's different terrain types, and that just outlines what they are. They're also broken down into regions. So we have the North region at the top, the Central in the middle, and wouldn't you know it, the South region down south. Each of those regions has 9 chits that you'll draw from when making an encounter when you're told to do so. They only exist in certain places, and that's going to introduce you to some of the tribes. I don't know what else is in there. I've tried not to look at them too closely. I want it to be kind of unfolding for me as I do the game. On the flip side of this, a handy dandy turn sequence guide, so you can have that there as opposed to having the rules open to it. And then a re-outfitting table as well. So the next thing that we'll look at here quickly is the cards. You get a stack of cards with the one side where you're going to be mainly looking, and then if you're on the warpath, you're going to be referring to the flip side. So whenever you're asked to refer to a card, you discard the top one. The next one down is the one that you're going to be referring to. So let's have a look in the book at the breakdown. So here we have the breakdown of what the cards are. The top lines there, the danger. If moving 2 movement points or more, the danger is red. So one of the other unique things about this game is you don't have a set amount of movement points per character or per group. You can set that movement allowance yourself. The faster you move, the more chance there is for danger to happen, like whether that's injuries, whether that's a loss of supplies or whatever it's going to be. There's more of a chance. The more times, the quicker you move through the unexplored terrain, the greater the danger, which I think is pretty great, allowing you to kind of choose your own style, I guess, if you really want to take it slow. And I believe if you move 1 movement point, you don't ever have to check the danger. I think that's the one thing that allows you to kind of move freely, but obviously then you're moving incredibly slowly across the landscape, but maybe that's the strategy. The next thing you'll see there is the terrain type. So that is those 3 symbols here. And again, the different terrain, the different colors are for the different terrain there. The river continuation is on the left side of the card here. So if you are on a space to see where the river continues, this will have a bunch of different symbols on it, whether it's a turn in the river, whether it's straight through, whether it's a fork in the river itself. On the right side is if a river begins, it'll say so. And if there's nothing written, like on this, for example, then you don't have to worry about anything. The rivers can start basically with a blue dot, and they can end in a small lake. They can attach to the other bodies of water that are already on the map, or they can exist on their own, depending on how far you've explored. And then there's the discovery section of the card as well, a potential to find a site or something of value. And again, if you find a site, you can use that to your advantage when you do make it to the Rocky Mountain Rendezvous and maybe get yourself a tourist and take them around to those sites. I believe you get $50 per site from the tourist, and they won't pay twice to see the same thing though, but you can start making money that way. And then at the bottom is the encounter movement. Encounters on map may move. And then the bottom left is the encounter itself, a potential to have an encounter with tribes, trappers, or Spanish dragoons. And then it talks a little bit about, or just shows an example of the Warpath side. And like I said, each Warpath side is going to be a little bit different, and it looks like it's all based on the die roll when I was having a quick flip through these as I was cutting them out. So it is a bit of a crafting game. You do have to cut out the cards themselves. You do have to cut out the seasons. He does give you a couple of sheets of paper, double-sided, just to have your information for your different missions. But if you want to save those, there's also on the back, so there'll be some scanning, photocopying. So I think I'm going to cut it there. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to check in as I'm playing the game. I really wanted to highlight this though, and just urge you to, if you haven't already, after I've talked about them so many years now on this channel, really check out the crew over there at Cave Evil. I'll make sure that I leave links. Have a look. Support indie gamers, support indie music, support indie comics, support indie art. The big companies get enough people's money. Do a little bit of digging. Support some indie people and people who are just extremely passionate about making something and sharing it with you, instead of just creating something else for mass consumption. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you.